welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan Therapeutic Coach of SRTT, and today I'm joined by Jodie from Between a Green to have a conversation about slow living. Welcome, Jodie.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me. So today you're going to talk to me about slow living. What is that?
So slow living is basically a concept of living where you're basically putting the brakes on. Now, I think from the get-go, people might confuse slow living with actually not doing much, but it's actually getting everything done just at the right time. I think that in our recent lives, our current lives, there's a status symbol around being a busy person. Like being busy equals success. Being busy means that you're, I don't want to say it in these words, but I'm better than everybody else if you're busy.
It's like a virtue, isn't it? Busyness is a virtue.
Yeah. And actually, and one of the quotes that I always keep in my head as well is that busyness is a choice as well. We do have the opportunity to take things a little bit slower. But I think that because there's that status symbol with busyness, people just want to appear busy, and that seems like the better way to live than to be a little bit more conscious or a little bit more mindful and a little bit more slow, I guess. So with that in mind, it just means that you're living a more balanced and meaningful life. You're still going to have to do all the things that you would normally do in your life. This isn't about, yoga, meditation. Obviously that, if you choose to do those kinds of things, they're the kinds of things that I like doing. But actually, it's just about doing the mundane things, but finding peace and meaning to it. And I'm not saying that we're going to start meditating while we're washing the pots or anything like that, but it's just, not everything has to seem like a chore. Because we've, busy moms, women, we have so much
stressful
on our plate.
It's stressful. Being busy is stressful. Slow living is, in my mind, it's an opportunity to kind of slow everything down. And I would say meditate while you're washing up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If that's your thing. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into slow living?
Yeah, so basically I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety between 2015 2016 time. Just some personal events in my life. It just led to me wanting to get some help. And I went to my GP and was diagnosed with these mental illnesses. And I got the medication. I went to go see a counsellor. All those kinds of things that that you expect to do, I suppose, when you've been diagnosed. But I'm quite a proactive person, and I was like, right, I need something for me every day. Like I want to feel better. I want to get better. Like this just isn't me. It's just not my it's not the personality traits that I associate with myself. I'm really friendly, outgoing, loud, all those kinds of things. And because I am that busybody person that we're sort of trying to get away from in this conversation, but I was just like, right, what can I do every day? Because I was going to see a counsellor maybe once or twice a week or month, and I was just finding, look, I need something daily. I need something every day that I can just make myself feel better with. And I think, like everybody, we go on Dr. Google and we're tapping away. We're like, how can I fix myself? All the answers seem to be on the internet, don't they?
Absolutely.
So and I just came across this concept of slow living, and just how actually living every day, there's goodness to be had in every day, and to change our mindset around the mundane. And I know it does sound like a little bit woo-woo, but actually having the happiness in the little things and just enjoying your life. Like life is short, life is tough, life is good, but just enjoying it. And and I think that's something that really spoke to me, because the events that we had in our life was quite a tragic event in our family. And it just did make me think, we get one very short life. And, if I can find happiness when I inevitably have to wash the pots or dust the living room, I'm going to take it. And just, little by little, those little changes that are really, really not difficult, I 100% put my recovery down to the lifestyle changes that I made.
I think you made a really important point as you were talking there, that you can get the medication, you can link in with the counselling, with the therapy, but actually it is the day-to-day mundane things, it's the day-to-day choices that we make, it's the day-to-day finding the joy, living a mindful state, that they are the things that help us live a more joyful life, aren't they? Those all of the tools that we can tap into are so important to have, but if the day-to-day way we live is in conflict with what we're trying to achieve in our overall life, then the balance is much more difficult to achieve, isn't it?
Big lesson that I had to learn was about not dictating my happiness or my worth dependent on other people. So it's like not being addicted to the next best thing. And there's this sort of culture where everything's clean and perfect, and we buy a new dress for every occasion, and it's like, oh, you're just always keeping up with something that's just unattainable. And I think the biggest lesson that I had to learn was being happy with what you've got, be happy with what you have, really appreciate what you have, and then you'll just naturally live a happier life. You're never thinking, oh, I need a new car, or oh, that's that's broken, we need to go get a new one of that. So it's being just
conscious living as opposed to consumer living, I guess. But that's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely that, because you only have to go on Instagram or TikTok, and it's like a couple of scrolls in, it's like, here's my huge haul of just plastic rubbish and stuff that just nobody really cares about, and you're only buying those things to impress other people. And at the end of the day, it's your life, it's nobody else's.
It's finding, like you say, finding the happiness inside as opposed to outside. So if someone's listening to us and they're like, okay, this sounds great, I want to do some slow living, where do they start? What are your top tips to get started?
So my top tips for getting started: number one, I have to put my hands up and say I'm an absolute journal freak, addict, whatever you want to call it. I love journaling, I love pen to paper. I know that some people can be a little bit more digital, and I'm sure there are ways to do that, but I just love in the morning. I'm quite blessed that my children are older, they're teenagers, so I don't see them before lunchtime now that it's school holidays. So I get that really precious time in the morning, and that's my time with my journal. And I just find that having things that are visual is a really, really good place to start. So I start off with a timetable, just so that I know that, because like I said, we live a busy life, we know what we need to do, and I make things very visual so that I know what to expect, and things don't get busy and just completely out of control. And that if you find that there are moments of free time, not to fill those up. It's like, enjoy the free time. We're so going, we have a day off work and we go, oh, well, I'll clean the house that day, oh, I'll go and do all the errands that day. It's like, if you've got free time, don't fill it up. Really do enjoy it, of what you want to do in that moment. And I also find having something visual like that, especially where my family can see it as well, they know exactly that, like, our daily plans, it's not meticulous to like every single second, but it gets them involved. They know that, like, I do yoga and things like that, so they know, like, oh, well, Mom's doing this. And I've been fortunate enough with my own business to quit my part-time job, so I'm literally 100% focused on my home business, and they can see exactly when I'm working, so they don't go, oh, I need this, I need that. It's like, everybody's aware that we're just taking our time. This is the time for this, and that's the time for another thing.
I love that, and that's one of the things that I use with my clients, is to schedule in self-care time, because we very much will schedule in, like, appointments and things that we need to do for the children, or household stuff or work stuff, or maybe if we're really lucky, we might even remember to schedule in time with our friends. But self-care time often gets put to the bottom of the list. So if you're a person that likes a schedule, likes a planner, and likes to be kind of really organized, that's brilliant. Schedule that in as well. If you're a person like I don't like to be super scheduled, but I'm really mindful of planning in time, free time, that's my time to kind of do what I want to do. And I'm sure you probably experience the same, most of us. There's the joke, isn't there, as we become adults, trying to make time to see your friends is like, you know, I can see you a week on Wednesday, well I can see you 2 weeks on Thursday. So it really is important, if you want those connections, isn't it, to schedule it in. So that's a great tip, and having it visual so the whole family can see and know that that's what's going on is brilliant.
Because I think, you know, if there are any mums listening or watching, it's that mum guilt, isn't it? And I feel so much better knowing that my kids know when I'm working, when I'm doing such and such else, because they know that when I've scheduled time for them, even if it is just 20 minutes playing Scrabble, or, you know, me and my daughter, I have to admit to my absolute guilty pleasure, which is watching TikTok with my daughter. You know, we'll make like a little chocolate drink and we'll sit and watch it. But she knows that for that 20 minutes or half an hour, whichever, depending on what task we're doing, that's her time. And I'm not checking emails. And, you know, especially when you run your own business, it's so easy to just let business and home life just totally run into each other, because my office is in my dining room. And something that I really wanted to point out there about like having your own free time is, do you ever notice that when you're in the shower or you're going for a walk or you're going, you know, I don't, but people who go for a run and they have these aha moments, and they have these moments where they have the best ideas when they're actually not really doing much else. And, you know, if we don't have that time, if we don't give ourselves that opportunity to have those times, we're not going to have those moments where we go, what an amazing idea, and things like that. So I think it is really important. And I just also want to say that one of my top tips is to get outdoors as much as possible. So yeah, I mean, we're sort of tied to having to go for a walk every day because we've got a dog. But yeah, just even get your cup of coffee and go sit in the garden and just enjoy your coffee in the garden. And it does sound a bit like, I haven't got time to sit and have, everybody's got time.
It's so important to make time. I think like that's one of the biggest resistance that I hear, is that I don't have time, but you do have time. There is time. There's always some time. Even if it's a minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, it is about prioritizing your time. And I'm completely with you. I sat in the garden yesterday and cloud watched. Just laid there and watched clouds. I did share it on my Instagram and my Facebook for about 3 minutes each, because I laid there and I was like, this is so beautiful, and I was really in the moment. And it was one of those like, I need to show what I'm always talking about these things, but I don't ever show that I do it. So it's like, I need to just put that out there. So I took some time to work, and then I gave myself even longer out laying in the garden, because I'd interrupted my me time with some work time. So again, like, it's that balance, isn't it?
And I think it's really important to point out that social media actually, you know, it does get a lot of bad stick, but, you know, there's some really, really good things on social. Like I said, my guilty pleasure is sitting and watching TikTok, like mindless videos with my daughter, and it does get a lot of stick, and you can feel a little bit like not inferior, I suppose it's the wrong word, but, you know, a lot of the times the social media is the reason why we feel like we're not good enough, because we're watching other people on, like, they're on holiday and I'm sat in rainy Manchester, and isn't my life so depressing? And it's like, it can be a tool for good as well.
I mean, I love TikTok. I think it's TikTok is one of my guilty pleasures. I do use it for the business, but not really very efficiently, because I love the people, the content that I follow. I follow quite a lot of like inspirational people, business people, people that talk about the sort of things that you're talking about today, slow living. So I think there's two sides to social media, isn't there? You can see a lot of stuff that isn't aligned with your kind of what you want in your life, and can tap into that feeling of shame or that feeling of like not good enough. So I think it's very important to curate your social media in a way that you are tapping into things that fulfill your soul, uplift you, like maybe comedians that you find funny or people that you find inspirational. I follow a lot of exercise people with bigger bodies, because I want to see a range of things in my social media that align with my morals, my philosophies, and my outlook on life. And I know when we were talking before, there's people that you like to follow and you recommend to follow. So I think, is there some people that you specifically wanted to sort of say these are great people to follow, or is it just a space of...
Yeah, so basically my as well as obviously being on TikTok with my daughter, I absolutely love Pinterest for slow living. You know, you can type slow living into the search bar and you get so much, and you're going to get loads of picture perfect and neutral tones and cozy blankets and everything looking you know, absolutely looking perfect, which is obviously sort of what we're trying to get away from, is that slow living is absolutely not perfect. But there are so many lovely top tips on there, and yeah, I love Pinterest for things like slow living, but it's important just not to get swept up into the fact that, you know, your living room isn't going to immediately look like an Icelandic lodge. But yeah, there's so many top tips on there. And so there's some more top tips that I actually want to share as well, especially when it comes to doing our like scheduling and planning. And I understand that that's not everybody's, you know, that's not what everybody likes to do, is being a little bit less scheduled. But things like to eliminate the non-essential things, to eliminate things that are not, that you don't need to do. And you do have to be quite ruthless to get rid of the things that you don't like doing. It's just, you know, but it's because you can't do everything. Jobs like washing up, doing the laundry, hoovering, dusting, cooking, teeth, washing your hair, they actually can be quite a therapeutic thing. And that's why it connected so much with living an eco-friendly lifestyle, that, you know, when I am washing my hands, you know, I don't want to be covering my hands or skin, whichever, in chemicals. And it's, some people say like slow, they break it down into the SLOW, the S being for sustainable, the L being for local, the O being for organic, and W being whole. And I love that someone's created that, because it literally is the 4 words that really, really sum up slow living. And yeah, the sustainable part of it really did make me think, you know, we need to stop looking at things so such a disposable lifestyle. You know, if something breaks, you just throw it in the bin and buy another thing. But having the pride to fix something or to upcycle something, you know, I had a pair of pajama bottoms that the elastic's gone and they were around my ankles, so I've cut it up and I've just made like little veg bags. And you know, some people might think, oh God, like I've got nothing better to do with your time. But actually, you know what? Get off social media. You know, all these toxic behaviors that we fill our day with, you know, instead of sitting scrolling through my phone, I just did a little bit of sewing on a Sunday, and it took me seconds to make a couple of little veg bags. So it's and I think that mindset of being quite creative and making something else gives you that pride, gives you that happiness, and that's definitely the kind of feelings that we're trying to, you know, get from our daily lives, isn't it?
Well, it's that joyfulness, isn't it? If you, I mean, I can't sew, and it's something that I would find quite frustrating trying to do. I am really in awe of people that have the ability to sew. So I know I have all the intentions. People that know me, there are projects that I've had for years that I've said, oh, I'm going to go. I actually have a sewing machine that I've never learned to use, because there's other things that I prioritize. So it's brilliant if you enjoy sewing and you find it mindful, you find it joyful, pleasurable, like you say, taking that project and putting it and doing it, it takes a small amount of time in all of the time. You've got something that lasts you a long time, and it's joyful, and then people like me are like, oh, that's amazing that you can do that. I mean, I'm genuinely when you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that's not something I can do, but then that's because that's not something I choose to spend my time doing. So that's the reality of it. If you're interested and or for me, that's the reality of it. If it's something you want to do, you need to prioritize it, don't you, and make the time to do it, and you get all of those amazing kind of benefits for it. Me personally, I've got a friend that I would ask to make them for me, so I'd get to upcycle, recycle, get the joy, but not the work that I don't want to do.
Yeah,
so I mean, like you say, don't do the things you don't want to do. Prioritize the things you do want to do that are gonna fill you with joy. That's what I'm hearing from you. Am I getting the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it speaks volumes that I didn't actually show you the veg bags that I made, because my sewing leaves a lot to be desired, but it's something that I really wanted to get like into, because I can see all these lovely projects that people are making, and it's actually through changing my mindset and changing what I actually want to do with my days that I'm absolutely not perfect at doing sewing, and it's a really haphazard thing, but I'm like, I made that and I'm really proud.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be perfect at something to enjoy doing it. So I know, like I'm aware that I've gone, well, I'm not very good at it, but I don't particularly want to be good at it. It's not something, there's other things I get more pleasure from. So for me, it would be laying in the garden, watching the clouds and making patterns out of the clouds and seeing the animals in the clouds. Like I watched a dragon fly across the sky the other day. And to me, that brings me joy, tapping into that part of my inner child, that imagination. That's for me, that's using my creativity in a way that brings me joy. And I don't care to sit and say, it doesn't bother me to be like, oh, this is what I did the other day and I loved it, because I really feel that as adults we get so caught up in the adulting of everything that we forget that there's joy in these simple, childish, air quotes, childish moments, or childlike, as I prefer to call it, moments of play and joy that if we just take time to do, can fulfill our soul and really kind of fill us up and bring us into more creative space that we can then put towards our work, our business, our children, our family, and all of this other stuff. So whether it is sewing, watching the clouds, painting, what's it, diamond art is something I see other people do as well that I think, oh, I love the creativity of it. Would I do it? No, because I would find it frustrating, but I'm in awe of people that take the time to do it. So it's none of these creative endeavors need to be perfect, and I think that's really, really important to tap it, to kind of remember as well. Creativity for the sake of creativity is enough. Whatever you create is enough.
With you just saying then about sitting out in the garden, me and my daughter were sat out in the garden but a couple of weeks ago now, and we were watching the birds fly by, and they were making all different kinds of noises, and we just started giving them names and backstories and saying, oh, there's Maurice the blackbird or whatever, and we had such a laugh, and it was just simple things. We were just sat in our garden watching the birds, and we just met, and it's things like that kids are going to remember as well. They're not going to remember every time that you took them to whichever, wherever you want to take them for, like maybe a fast food treat, if you know what I mean. They're not going to remember that, but she's going to remember sitting in the garden and having an absolute ball talking about birds. And I also think that that's a really, really important point, that if my children can see me like a lot more calmer, and if they can see me being creative, it rubs off onto them just automatically, like I was saying, it's just sewing is something that I've actually taken up recently, but then my daughter's like, oh, what are you doing? And they get involved, and that, and they're not little either, they're teenagers, and it's so hard sometimes to connect with a teenager. But when they can see you calmer and you feel calmer, there's just our connections between us as a family has just improved so much just by taking a few smaller steps. Making the mundane. It feels like
you've created, by adopting the slow living, you've created space for connection.
100%. Yeah, 100%, because we can connect to those mundane things. If I get my kids to wash up, it's just not looking at it as a chore. And yet it does take time to absolutely adopt this kind of thing. Like I said, I sort of started taking this lifestyle from 2015, 2016. It's 2021 now. And there's still things that I want to learn, and there's still things that I, like you were saying, like sewing wouldn't be your bag, and mine is reading. I cannot sit down and read a book, and I really wish that I could, because I have books and books and books on my bookshelf, and I would love to say that I could sit and read a book. But exactly what you said, it's just finding the joy in what you like doing, and finding the joy in things that you have to do.
Yeah. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's finding the joy in the things that you want to do. So not feeling that you need to do any of the other things that other people do. Try it, and if it's not for you, then throw it in the bin. My favourite thing to say, throw it in the bin. Like, you don't have to do it just because somebody else says to you, oh, this is the most relaxing thing ever. Like, not for me, it isn't. For me, that is not fun. It's not relaxing. It's not joyful. I'm really aware, one of the things that I don't do and haven't done for a majority of my adult life is I will not iron. I do not iron. I do not own an iron. I do not own an ironing board. I don't understand when people say to me, oh, I've got to spend Sunday ironing. It's like, you don't have to spend Sunday ironing. I guess you do if you want clothes that aren't creased, but you don't have to. Like, you can choose not to. The consequences, you have creased clothes, or you can outsource it, or you can do it in a way that you can find joy. So I think it really kind of fits for me, this idea of slow living, and finding the fun in the things that you do daily. It's mindset, isn't it, really? It's that kind of, if I've got to do this task, I can do it in a way that feels fun. I often put music on when I'm doing housework, and kind of dance around the house and sing and kind of make it as fun as possible for myself. It's only me there doing it, but why not go into it in a kind of fun energy space, as opposed to, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I don't actually have to do it. I could just leave it all a mess, really.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I am definitely a fan of because I can't sit and read a book. It's just not in my nature, but I do like audiobooks, so I'll chuck that on while I do a bit of cleaning, and it's just like, just taking that pressure off yourself. And that's what I was going to say about the something that we've changed in our lives. Now, some people have a little bit of a like, oh no, because we like, say, food shopping. We've got a family of 4, so we're constantly needing to fill the fridge. I've got 2 hungry teenagers. But what we've started doing is going to like a local or like farmers market at least once a week. Now, I understand that you can go into the supermarket, you literally buy bras with your broccoli. Everything is super duper convenient. But just from taking a part of our day, a part of our weekend, to go to a lovely little local farmers market, it's just, it's made us try new things. And the seeing fresh produce just like in big baskets and things like that, it's just so much nicer than walking through the aisles of a supermarket with everything wrapped in plastic. It's like, you know what, you are going to have to go food shopping, or you are going to have to do XYZ, but just make the best of it and try and find a happier, nicer way to do it. And that means that we're also supporting small businesses as well. We always find something really new and kooky at these shops, because they're constantly trying to support other businesses in the local area. And just knowing that our eggs have come from the chickens that we literally just drove past. And to some people it might sound a little bit like, oh my god, you sound absolutely crazy, but it's 100% made me live such a happier, calmer life. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? Is finding the bits that are going to fit for you to make your life, or to support your life in being happy and calm and how you want it to be. So whatever it is, I mean, you've given us loads of great suggestions, and I know, like you said at the beginning, about how you've left your job, and I think part of that is like the slow living lifestyle that you've adopted. So how did that happen? How has the slow living inspired sort of your business and the way that you make a living?
Yeah, so it was on my vision board. I on New Year's Day, I typed out my notice. It was in an envelope and it was on my vision board since January, that I knew I was going to hand my notice in this year. I just knew it. Obviously, I wanted it to be, well, I didn't want it to be. I assumed it was going to be further towards the end of the year, but actually in June, I made the decision to hand in my notice earlier than what I expected. And it's absolutely that. I was in quite a high, a big company's sales position. And yeah, it wasn't aligning to what how I wanted to spend my days. And it's very easy for me to say, oh yeah, I'll just quit my job. It was something I wanted to quit my job for years. And it was only really this year that I thought, you know what, I've got myself into a position where I can now resign. The fear was sort of keeping me going, keeping on going, not resigning. But yeah, it was a long decision. I didn't just make the decision on a whim. I just wanted to make that like clear that, people will go, I can't just quit my job, like I've got bills to pay and things like that. But it was a process where I decided that I wanted to leave. And like you said, I started a business from home that completely aligned with the lifestyle that I wanted to adopt. And I've been absolutely super lucky that my business has been really successful so far, especially with the things that have gone on in the last couple of years. It's been a really, really tough time to start a business, to run a business. And I have been really, really lucky. And I think it's just because I put so much personality into my business. It's not just me just trying to sell things. It's like, this really, really worked for me. And I think that's something that's top of the list of my priorities in anything I do in my business, is that it comes from a place where I've tried and tested it, and I'm given the experience rather than just going, buy this. So
it's how does it fit alongside the slow living? Because obviously people listening won't really know what the business is. So if you want to share a little bit about what the business is and how it fits alongside, please do.
Yeah, so my business is it's called Between Green, as you said in the beginning, and we're an eco-friendly products business. We started just before everything sort of kicked off with the C word, and I sort of had to adopt my how I ran it. So we were going to local markets, going to local events with eco-friendly products, and obviously then my calendar just completely blanked. Everything was cancelled, and I thought, right, I was furloughed from my job at the time, and I was like, right, I've got all this time on my hands, and I always wanted an online presence, but it was never going to be the main thing because I just love being out and speaking to people. And I just started taking it online, and sort of the idea was smack bang in my face because we're quite big subscription box fans at home. So we've had everything from gin to stationery to my daughter gets like a baking kit. We've had comics, all sorts of things. And I just thought, you know what an amazing idea to introduce people to these slow, sustainable, small changes in a subscription box service, because that means that people, we're constantly reminded about our effects on the planet, and actually living a more eco-friendly lifestyle it's a happier way to live as well. It does fill you with a lot more joy, as well as not as many chemicals, because honestly I don't know how some big brands get away with what they put in their products. But I just try and come at it from an angle of not fear mongering or anything like that, but just purely just I suppose a pure aspect of it. And so I thought to myself, it's so easy that when you want to make a lifestyle change that you're like, right, I need to buy absolutely everything right now, but that's why I thought the subscription box would be such a good idea, because then you're literally making a small change one step at a time, 1 month at a time. It's like when you decide that you want to lose weight, you're like, right, I'm going out and buying loads of
everything in the bin.
I get new trainers, new gym stuff, go and sign up to the gym, and we want to do everything on that day. And that's so not sustainable, is it?
No, it's the small consistent steps that create the big change, and it makes it manageable. And it's like it sounds like you've been on this whole journey of discovering what the slow living is and adopting that into your day-to-day routines, which has then led to like the business, and it's like you've experienced it. So I guess you're taking your experience and you've put that into your business, and you're supporting other people to dip their toe into that way of living. And like this, the small the monthly subscription, is it monthly subscription, did you say?
Yes, it is.
So the monthly subscription boxes gives that, I mean, it's convenient, isn't it? Comes straight to the door, and it's like, hey, this is what you could do this month. And people, as we've said before, take what fits and leave what doesn't. And it's kind of a really nice, easy way to kind of get that introduction and sustainable way of I don't know what the word I want. Sustainable way of making consistent changes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why every single month I try to make it a different theme as well. So it's like you said, it's an opportunity to dip your toe into something. And, if that really wasn't what you wanted to change, or, it's something completely different the next month, I wanted to make sure that it was different products every month, because I've had subscription boxes before where you end up getting the same thing. And I've sort of taken everything that I didn't like about subscription boxes and took that away, and everything that I loved about subscription boxes, put that into that. And it's a small way of trying the changes before you really commit. And something that I absolutely love about what I do with my subscription boxes is I support at least one other small business a month. Now, we've been running since January, so we've sent out our 8th box in a couple of weeks ago. And we've supported 17 small businesses in 8 months, just by, making that contact with people, because it's, you can get wholesale and things like that. But I love getting in touch with people, getting in touch with small businesses. We really make a lovely connection. And, and then I can obviously try their products, because like I said, I want to make sure that everything in the box is something that I've used myself. So, and I've found so many lovely connections through running this business as well. It almost doesn't feel like work. And I know that's such a cliche, but
I'm so alongside you. I've had the same experience with the podcast. I've built my own community. So connecting with people who I would never have met, because I wouldn't have looked for them. They wouldn't have looked for me. We have a community space that we kind of meet up in virtually now as well. And it's like, I've learned so much in a field that I already know a lot about. And it's brilliant, because it is that connection, isn't it? It's that community. It's those people that are also alongside the life that you're trying to create for yourself. And it's so important as human beings that we find that connection, that we find the people that vibe with us. And if you're slightly alternative, or not living the Instagram life, it can sometimes feel a little tricky, or feel a little like other people aren't living that way. But once you start, or for me, once you start making those steps to live in your truth, you will notice that, like, it's almost like a little beacon to all the other I use the word weirdos because that's what I define myself as. Like all the other kind of, your kind of weirdo becomes like, hey, and it's brilliant. And what a beautiful way to adopt the life that you want to have and help other people to do that. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, you absolutely hit the nail on the head there. It can be such a lonely place, especially when you're running your own business. It can feel like a really, really lonely place to be, because you feel like the only one that's as passionate about it as you are. And yeah, and obviously being a mom as well, it's, you know, you can feel often quite lonely. And like you said, especially when you're you know, you come across to somebody who's eco-friendly, people go, oh God, here she goes, she's going to bang on about the planet and plastic again. But it's absolutely not that. But if I do want to bang on about the planet and plastic, then yeah, I've created this gorgeous network of people that totally get what I'm saying. And yeah, I think that's so important to get those connections, exactly like you said, and fill your social media, fill your life with people who are, you know, who do more for your like enrich your life, not people who are going to make you feel bad about it. So delete all those people with the picture perfect homes, because that's not going to make, you know, that doesn't make anybody happy, does it?
Yeah, if it doesn't make you happy, this is one of the things that I say, social media detox. If it doesn't make you happy, don't follow it. Take it like, I mean, I take it even further than social media. If it doesn't make you happy, if it brings unhappiness into your life, then you need to question why it's in your life and take steps. I am noticing the time, so it probably is a good time to sort of bring it to a close, if that feels okay for you. Is there anything that you would like to leave people listening with today?
Yes, I really want to share one of my favorite quotes. Now, I'm not going to be able to say it absolutely word on word, but it's basically that there was something said by someone, and they said that we work all of the days of our lives to buy stuff that we don't need to impress people that we don't even like. And it's like, that was a big push for obviously me wanting to quit my job. But yeah, it does make me think twice about just this constant consumerism driven, you know, disposable culture. And it's like, I'd rather have the money in my bank account than go buy a pair of shoes that I think everyone will go, oh my God, lovely shoes. It's like, a lot of the time we just want to make other people happy. Now, this switches all that. Make yourself happy. Yeah. Because we can get so suckered into that. And it's, you know, I think those few words really do speak quite a lot of what are we actually doing for ourselves. And remember that, the only person who can make you happy is you. Happiness is an inside job, and I've got that written on my wall somewhere. And I would echo that too. It is, anyone that works with me knows that I talk about prioritizing your self-care, because that is the most important thing. You can't spread happiness around the world if you're not happy. Exactly. And there are moments of happiness in just the most weirdest, randomest things. There's happiness in looking at the clouds. There's happiness in naming birds Maurice. You know, there's happiness everywhere. And especially through this difficult time, if anybody was going to try slow living, now's the time. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with me, Jodie. It's been really interesting. So those that have been listening, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I'd love to hear your feedback. To find out more about me and my guests, visit srtt.co.uk and follow SRTT Podcast on social media. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.